Hello, fellas. We're building a community to share stories with the world. If you have a story worth telling, I'd love to feature on our channel. This will help you share your voice and become part of our growing community. Thank you. Now, let's begin with our story titled, My Toxic Brother Honey Trapped Me to Steal My Company, so I Destroyed His Life. The snow in Colorado doesn't just fall, it physically buries you, isolating you from a world that most days I'd rather not deal with anyway. I sat on the heavy wooden porch of my cabin, a mug of black coffee radiating heat against my calloused palms, watching the thick white flakes blanket the pine trees. It was dead quiet out here, 90 miles from the nearest town that actually mattered. But for me, true silence hasn't existed in over 6 years. There's a constant, high-pitched ringing in my left ear, a relentless souvenir from a roadside IED in Kuna Province. I lost a good 40% of my hearing that day, which, if I'm being completely honest, is a fantastic excuse for ignoring people I don't want to talk to. But the hearing loss was the easy part. The harder part was the nights. You don't just leave the Navy and turn off the switch. You don't just forget the smell of burning diesel, copper, and dust. Last night was a bad one. I woke up at 3 in the morning, my t-shirt soaked in freezing sweat, my heart hammering against my ribs like a trapped bird. In the dream, I was back in the sandbox, screaming for an evac that was never coming, watching the dirt kick up around my boots from incoming fire. It takes a solid hour of pacing the hardwood floors of this cabin to convince my brain that I'm 34, retired from the teams, and entirely safe. The PTSD is a shadow that sits in the corner of the room, always waiting, always watching. But I didn't let the shadow win. When I got medically discharged, I didn't crawl into a bottle, though the temptation was definitely there. Instead, I channeled that hypervigilance, that paranoid energy into something productive. I started a private security firm, not the mall cop kind, the kind that handles high-risk executive protection, threat assessment, and asset recovery. I called it Ironclad Solutions, and my first rule was that I only hire veterans. I pulled in guys from my old unit, guys who were struggling to adjust to civilian life, guys who needed a mission just as badly as I did. We built it from the ground up, out of a dingy rented garage, until we were landing multi-million-dollar contracts with tech billionaires who liked the idea of being guarded by genuine Tier 1 operators. Honestly, the success tasted sweeter because of where I came from. Growing up, I wasn't the golden child. That title belonged to my older brother, Marcus. Marcus was the charming one, the high school quarterback who went to a fancy business school while I was the quiet, brooding kid who joined the military the second I turned 18 just to escape. Marcus spent my entire childhood making sure I knew I was beneath him. He was a bully, plain and simple, but a smart one. He'd break my things and manipulate our parents into thinking I did it out of rage. He'd mock my grades, my friends, my choices. My parents? Passive. Boys will be boys, my dad used to say, turning up the television while Marcus held me in a chokehold until I saw stars. Proving my worth, building a reputation in the community as a reliable, untouchable professional, was my middle finger to Marcus and the childhood he ruined. I thought I was untouchable, insulated by my success and my isolation. But toxic people have a way of smelling blood in the water. Marcus suddenly wanted back in my life. Once Ironclad's valuation hit 8 figures. He started calling, trying to act like we were long-lost buddies, pitching synergistic business opportunities. I shot him down every time, my sarcasm dripping through the phone. But Marcus was nothing if not persistent. And when frontal assaults failed, he shifted his tactics. That's when Chloe walked in. I was in Denver for a week, wrapping up a massive security audit for a software firm. I was sitting a high-end hotel bar, nursing a scotch, when she sat down 2 stools away. She was, objectively, the most breathtaking woman in the room. Dark, cascading hair, a sharp jawline, and a crimson dress that left exactly the right amount to the imagination. She was hot, sexy, and she carried herself with this undeniable, magnetic confidence. She ordered a martini, looked over at me, and smirked. You have the posture of a man who's either about to shoot someone or intercept a bullet for someone. Which is it? I chuckled, turning my glass on the coaster. Depends on who's paying the tab. I am indeed. Chloe, she purred, sliding her drink closer to mine. And I'm guessing a man who drinks 18-year-old scotch with a scowl that's severe doesn't work for cheap. The banter was effortless. It was spicy, sharp, and God, she was quick. She didn't flinch at my dry, cynical humor. She volleyed it right back. We spent 3 hours at that bar. She told me she was in corporate PR, that she found most men in this city insufferably boring, and that she liked my scars. I hadn't let anyone in since the Navy. I kept women at arm's length, entirely avoiding relationships because I didn't want to explain the nightmares, the hearing aids, the sudden moods. But Chloe slipped past my defenses like water through a cracked foundation. Within 3 months, she practically lived at the cabin with me on weekends. It was intoxicating. She was affectionate, wildly passionate, and she made me feel like the broken parts of me were just interesting quirks. But there was always a slight, nagging friction. My first real girlfriend since the service, and she started asking a lot of questions about Ironclad. Who held the voting shares? What was our expansion strategy? I brushed it off at first, chalking it up to her corporate background. Until the argument. It was a Tuesday evening, the wind howling outside the cabin, and I was going over some quarterly financial reports. Chloe had poured a glass of wine and leaned over my shoulder, tapping a manicured nail against a specific clause in our operating agreement. You know, babe, she said casually, you're carrying all the liability here. You really should restructure. Create a parent holding company. I have a guy who could draw up the papers, shield your assets. I stiffened. The hair on the back of my neck stood up, that old primal instinct from the battlefield screaming that something was wrong. I don't need a guy, Chloe. I have 3 corporate lawyers on retainer. Well, they aren't doing a very good job if they left this loophole. She pushed, her tone dropping its playful edge. I just think you need someone with actual business acumen on the board. Someone you trust. Like me. I slammed the laptop shut, the sharp sound echoing in the quiet cabin. Since when do you care about my operating agreements? You're in PR. You don't know shit about private military contracting. I know how to protect you. She snapped back, her eyes flashing with sudden anger. You're so damn stubborn, David. You act like you're this untouchable lone wolf, but you're leaving millions on the table because you don't know how to play the corporate game. You're just a grunt who got lucky. The words hung in the air, toxic and heavy. I stared at her, my jaw clenched so tight my teeth ached. A grunt who got lucky. I repeated, my voice dropping to a dangerous, icy whisper. Pack your shit, Chloe. Get out.
She backpedaled immediately, the anger draining from her face, replaced by panic. David, wait, I'm sorry, I didn't mean that.
I said get the fuck out of my house. I barked, my hands shaking with a rage I hadn't felt in years. She grabbed her coat and her bag, crying, and drove off into the snow.
For 2 days, I sat in the cabin, nursing a bruised ego and a bottle of bourbon, telling myself I was better off alone. I was an idiot to think someone actually cared about the damaged veteran. But on the 3rd day, there was a frantic, heavy knocking at my front door. I opened it to find Chloe standing in the freezing rain, shivering, her mascara running down her cheeks. She looked absolutely wrecked. She pushed past me into the living room, collapsing onto the leather sofa, sobbing uncontrollably. David, I have to tell you something. I can't do it anymore. I feel so sick. I feel so fucking guilty. I can't sleep. I crossed my arms, leaning against the doorframe, my face a mask of stone. Talk. She took a trembling breath, staring at the floorboards. We didn't meet by accident at that hotel. I was paid to be there. I was paid to sit next to you.
My stomach dropped into a bottomless pit. Paid by who?
By Marcus, she choked out. Your brother.
The silence in the room was deafening, save for the high-pitched whine of the tinnitus in my ear acting up in response to my spiking blood pressure.
He found me through an agency, she continued, her voice small and pathetic. He knew you wouldn't do business with him. He told me you were unstable, that you were running a highly lucrative company into the ground because of your PTSD. His plan was for me to get close to you, get you to sign over voting rights to a holding company, or get enough leverage to blackmail you out of the CEO position. He wanted control of Ironclad. He promised me a $500,000 payout when it was done.
I felt a cold, calculated fury wash over me. It was a familiar feeling, the absolute clarity of combat. My own brother, the golden boy. He couldn't build his own empire, so he was going to honey trap me and steal mine.
But I fell in love with you, Chloe sobbed, looking up at me with desperate, tear-filled eyes. I didn't mean to. You're not the monster he said you were. You're brilliant and kind, and I couldn't go through with it. That's why I was pushing so hard the other night. I was trying to figure a way out to make myself indispensable so I wouldn't have to betray you. Please, David, please forgive me. I looked at this beautiful, weeping woman on my couch. Part of me, the lonely, damaged part, wanted to pull her into my arms and tell her it was okay. But I didn't survive a war zone by ignoring red flags. You need to leave, Chloe. Now. And if I ever see you near my property or my business again, my lawyers will tear you to pieces. David, please.
Get out, I roared.
After she left, I didn't sleep. I sat at my kitchen island, dismantling and cleaning my Glock 19 over and over, letting the mechanical precision of the weapon calm my mind. The next morning, I drove down the mountain. I didn't call my lawyers. I called Marcus. I told him to meet me at our parents' house in the suburbs of Denver.
When I walked through the front door of my childhood home, Marcus was sitting at the kitchen table, drinking a latte, looking like a smug, tailored prick in his $1,000 suit. My parents were in the living room, watching the morning news. Davy, Marcus grinned, standing up, spreading his arms like we were best friends. What brings the mountain man down to civilization? I didn't smile. I didn't slow down. I walked straight up to him, stopping inches from his face. Chloe confessed, "You miserable piece of shit." The color instantly drained from Marcus's tanned face. His smug smile faltered, but he quickly recovered, putting on a mask of baffled innocence. Chloe? Who is Chloe? Are you off your meds again, David? You're not making any sense. Don't play dumb with me, Marcus. I sneered, my voice dripping with venom. You hired her to honey trap me. You tried to steal my company because you're a pathetic, bankrupt failure who can't build anything of his own. You've been a parasite your whole life. My parents rushed into the kitchen, my mother clutching her pearls, figuratively and literally. David, what on earth is going on? Stop yelling at your brother, she demanded, her voice shrill. Your golden boy here. I pointed a finger at Marcus's chest, just tried to commit corporate espionage and fraud. He hired a woman to sleep with me to steal my business. That is a lie, Marcus shouted, puffing up his chest. Mom, Dad, he's having a PTSD episode. He's delusional. He's always been jealous of me. Jealous? I laughed. A harsh, barking sound. Of what? Your failing marketing firm? Your leased BMW? I have the texts, Marcus. Chloe flipped. She gave me all the wire transfers, all the encrypted messages. My legal team is filing a restraining order, a civil suit for damages, and handing the fraud evidence over to the district attorney. Panic finally shattered Marcus's composure. His face twisted into an ugly, rage-filled snarl. You think you're so fucking superior, don't you? He spat. You're just a brain-damaged grunt. You don't deserve that money. You don't even know how to spend it. Without warning, Marcus swung. He was slow, a civilian who hadn't been in a fight since high school. I easily slipped the main force of the punch, but his knuckles grazed the side of my head, right over my bad ear. The impact was minimal, but the shockwave through my damaged auditory nerve was catastrophic. A blinding, searing pain shot through the side of my skull. The high-pitched ringing in my ear suddenly amplified into a deafening, mechanical shriek. I staggered back, grabbing the counter, squeezing my eyes shut as a wave of intense nausea hit me. The headache was instant and brutal, feeling like an ice pick being driven into my temple. Marcus, stop it, my dad finally yelled, though he made no move to actually restrain my brother. I opened my eyes, the room spinning slightly. I looked at Marcus, who was breathing heavily, massaging his own hand. Then I looked at my parents.
He just hit me, I said, my voice eerily calm despite the agony in my head. He just assaulted me after trying to steal my life's work. And neither of you are going to do a damn thing, are you? My mother stepped forward, wringing her hands, her face a mask of pleading weakness. David, please. He's your brother. He's just going through a tough time with his finances right now. He didn't mean it. Don't ruin his life over a mistake. You have so much. Can't you just let this go? We're family. I stared at her, the physical pain in my head temporarily eclipsed by a profound, hollow realization. They were never going to change. They were always going to protect him at my expense. I had spent my entire life trying to prove my worth to people who were fundamentally broken. No, I said quietly, the ringing in my ear serving as a harsh backdrop to my clarity. We aren't family. We share DNA. That's it. I turned to Marcus, who was trying to look defiant but was clearly terrified of the legal threat. You're going to lose everything, Marcus. I'm going to make sure of it. And Mom, Dad, lose my number. If any of you ever step foot on my property, I will have you arrested for trespassing. I walked out of that house and never looked back. I drove back up the mountain, the headache pounding a relentless rhythm against my skull, but my chest felt incredibly light.
The lawsuit dragged on for a year. I bankrupted Marcus with legal fees, exposing him fully to his country club friends and his business associates. He became a pariah. Chloe tried to reach out a few times, sending long, emotional letters begging for a second chance, but I threw them in the fireplace unread. She made her bed. It took another year before I let my guard down again. I met Elena at a veterans charity gala I was sponsoring. She wasn't a PR executive in a red dress. She was an ER trauma nurse with a sharp tongue, exhausted eyes, and a devastatingly dry sense of humor. When a loudspeaker popped during the event, making me flinch and reach for a sidearm that wasn't there, she didn't gasp or look at me with pity. She just quietly stepped in my line of sight, handed me a glass of water, and sarcastically noted that the caterers were clearly trying to assassinate us with bad acoustics. Elena understood the baggage because she carried her own. She didn't try to fix my PTSD, and she didn't get offended when my hearing failed and I asked her to repeat herself for the third time. We built something real, something grounded in mutual respect and survival. Sitting on my porch now, with Elena asleep inside the warm cabin and the snow continuing to fall over the Colorado mountains, the ringing in my ear is still there. The memories of the sandbox still visit me in the dark, but the toxic weight of my family, the burden of a brother who wanted to destroy me, is gone. People tell you that family is everything, that blood is thicker than water. That's a lie perpetuated by toxic people to keep their victims chained to the radiator. The truth is, loyalty is everything. Respect is everything. If the people holding you down share your last name, you cut the rope just the same. Cutting off toxic people isn't just an option. It is essential for survival. And out here, in the quiet, I finally learned how to survive. Video title: My toxic brother honey-trapped me to steal my company, so I destroyed his life. Reddit revenge story.